The only thing standing between you and your goal is the story you keep telling yourself as to why you cannot achieve it. That's a quote from Draper from Mad Men. Welcome back to Never Start Over Again. I always start with a strong quote from Draper at Mad Men. I will probably change that over time, but it's a series I like to chill out to and watch. I haven't watched it in a long time now. But yeah, still, this is your weekly reset. This is not a restart, but we are here to realign. It's Monday morning, and my name is Rickard. And as always, I wanted to create this podcast and as Monday routine for people to listen to get them out there, get them going for the week, have something that they can think about and bring with them. So this week we're talking about capacity and how much of it you actually have and how little of it most people are using. And the question I think is most important than any goal you've set this year is not if you can do more, but maybe why you haven't done. But let's start with something that should bother you more than it probably does. You heard by now that the quote unquote sitting is the new smoking. And it gets repeated very often, so it has kind of stopped landing. People don't really think about it so much. And what made me think about this was my wife, because they are doing like a walking challenge at work, and there are so many people there that they are literally not even walking 500 steps in a day, or not even 1,000 steps in a day. And that was like shocking to me. I mean, I've been coaching so many people over the years, and I've seen 2,000, 3,000 steps in a day. That doesn't always say the entire picture, but like this little, and this really shocked me. And if you look into like the science behind this, and there was a study conducted by Yama that had 500,000 people over 13 years. And they found that people who sit predominantly have 16% higher risk of dying of any cause, and 34% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. Now, cardiovascular disease is the absolute highest mortality rate we have, so that tops cancer and all other diseases really. And that was like comparing with people that sit predominantly most of the days, and against those who kind of move a bit more of the days. It had nothing to do with exercise and how much people exercise, but just how much they sit over day. And one thing that was pretty surprising was that they found that even people who hit their recommended weekly exercise targets couldn't fully offset the damage of sitting more than 10 and a half hours a day. And you can train every morning and still be in the danger zone if you sit for the rest of the day. And I think that is something that is very revealing. Last year I got myself a treadmill for a Christmas present, because I also know that like I have a standing desk. I tend to like to stand up, but it's the locomotion that is kind of missing. So the moving and so on. And what I've noticed is that when you have this, it's not for the entire day. It's basically maybe for 10 minutes, it's for 30 minutes. That locomotion really helps to get the blood flowing, you get warm, and suddenly you unblock yourself. So many times when I've been overwhelmed, I feel a bit more energized, I feel a bit more motivated, I have a bit more drive. And I tend to, get moving with like the paperwork or whatever needs to be done. Another topic that I've been talking about for many, many years is magnesium. And this also connects to this. So magnesium is, one very important molecule that if you don't have magnesium, you will simply operate worse. And it has nothing to do with your motivation. It has nothing to do with your type of personality or so. But most people are chronically low in magnesium because of the food that we eat and the things that we drink. If we drink coffee, like I do a lot, that binds a lot of magnesium. And when people supplement magnesium, they tend to supplement the wrong magnesium. And why is this important for most people is because with low magnesium, like I said, many functions will not really operate that well, but it's very strongly connected with anxiety and that kind of overwhelm and motivation and so on. So if you don't have enough magnesium, it doesn't matter how much motivation you try to have. Or a better analogy, let's say you train a lot, and if you're training and you're low on magnesium, you will not have enough push to train. Like, you're not going to have as fast adaptation, because magnesium is needed for ATP, the energy creation in every cell in your body. So usually they recommend RDAs, so recommended daily allowance, and these are based on like a average person, and it's based on in an average day, whatever you want to say, and it's like the minimum requirement. So this is not the optimal amount, and whatever it usually says. But so, for example, I have one here. It says 2 capsules has about 300 milligrams, and I think the RDA is about 400 to 500, and then you have to count in like a body weight or so. So I'm over 100 kilos, so I would probably need to have almost 1,000 milligrams. And if you feel anxious or whatever, or sore, then you can actually notice magnesium supplementation fairly quickly, meaning if you take higher doses for a day, you will feel it immediately. And when you take higher doses, you will also notice the difference between different magnesiums. So if you have magnesium oxidate, then you will simply just get diarrhea. It doesn't help, so the body cannot uptake it. And it's all the cheap ones that you see out there, magnesium, that you can buy in the local supermarket, are usually magnesium oxidate. So what you want to do is you want to take some of the other real ones here. So magnesium glycinate, or I can't remember what the other one is called, but glycinate is the one, not the oxidate one. There's also one more that you can take that the body can actually absorb. One other reflection I had, this morning, actually this weekend, we had a long weekend. If somebody told me 15 years ago that what my life would look like today, that I would have 3 kids, 2 companies, I would do keynotes internationally and travel, I would mentor gym owners all across the world, coached hundreds of clients, thousands of clients, helped them with their nutrition, with their fitness, with their motivation, have a full team, have an academy that we have now for training, I would probably not have believed you. And it doesn't have to do with that I didn't lack ambition, but it would have been very hard for me to see myself 15 years ago, to imagine that. Like, how am I, when you're at that point, like 15 years ago, if I go back, I would have had a hard time understanding how to manage all these things. And it kind of reveals ourselves of this question of like how much capacity we actually have. How did I get there? Well, it was not a particular like business model or a mentor or a lucky break, as I see it, but one of the key components for me was my health and my fitness. So I've been consistently training. I've been taking care of my health for the last, basically 15 years. And I've been keeping up the momentum in all times, like even when it was uncertain, when we had big obstacles, I tried to keep on with my training. And it also gave me the daily proof of point that I could do hard things. So one good thing that CrossFit taught me was like doing a hard thing physically, that is hard. But doing like a paperwork, it's not really hard. It doesn't hurt. It's just boring. So we can do these things more easily if we do something that is a bit harder. It kind of like I saw this a decade ago, like if I do something hard in the morning, like everything else in the day feels easier. And I see the same thing happen with people around me all the times. at the gym, like when we have so many people that have done their first pull-up, like a woman at her 30s doing her first pull-up in her life, that's just like you see the eyes go up and they're like, what's happening? Like, how is this possible? And if there's a shift going on in yourself and in the belief you have in yourself, that is like hard to replicate. And the only thing we did was like to train, and we got there. But this is like the thing that people have a hard time otherwise maybe seeing outside in their real life. But there's a door opening when you do those things. And I've seen this with people that come from like chronic back pain, and they suddenly can move and they can do stuff, and it's like opens up these possibilities. Or yeah, I don't know, like for many, just doing the first handstand too, or a rope climb. It's kind of a fitness achievement, but it really reveals that many things are possible that they don't think were possible. And if you think this sounds familiar, it is because it is. Me, myself, I'm not a fast-thinking person. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I try to be with other people that are smarter than me. But one of the things that I do want to do is spend time on my fitness and health, not obsessively, but for the reason that when you're fit and health, you don't have to worry about spending your energy about your health and being sick. So when your body's running well, you have more of yourself available and you can do things that actually move you forward. And that's not a metaphor, that's how it works. Like if I'm constantly worried about the things that like I cannot do, I'm constantly limiting myself. And if my health is impaired, that will be me all day. I will just think about how things hurt, how, the restrictions I have. My morning will start like that. So yeah, of course that's like starting with your handbrake on in the morning. And we can do something about it. And what we can do is obviously do some training and eat a bit better over time. And here's what I've learned after years of watching people making changes, and also when they fail to make them, is that the problem is never information. Nobody walks through the door not knowing that fitness or health is good for them. Nobody's surprised to hear that, like, hey, maybe you should sleep more and you will recover better. The information is abundant. It's all out there. Like, if information was the problem, everyone would be just walking around being rich and have a six-pack right now. I don't know who said that, but Chris Cooper usually says that. So the problem is not information. The problem is the structure, the accountability, and having the right environment to create the behaviors that you want to have and not the wrong ones. And it's like your brain and your body is not broken. It's just doing whatever is designed to do, which is to conserve energy. It's to seek comfort and to avoid unnecessary energy costs for the body and the mind. And the change is metabolically expensive. So your nervous system resists all this by default. And it's not like a personal flaw or your weakness. It is how we're built. This is our biology. And motivation is not the answer. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are very unreliable on a Monday morning, Tuesday morning, when it's dark, when it's cold, and it's already raining, it's snowing, or the kids haven't slept all night. And the only thing that really works here is if you have a structure that doesn't ask about your feelings. It doesn't ask for permission. It's a plan that runs whatever you like it or not. And this may be something that I've learned when you have kids, is like, they have their needs. They still need to do their stuff. Or when you have a dog, like you still have to maintain the procedures so the dog doesn't shit inside, or the kids get food on their table. So you need to go and create these structures so you have food on the table, that you have a bed routine or whatever. And the real transformation happens when you don't have to start over, because it's a loop that constantly works around, and that is the real resolution. Usually it starts with just acknowledge where you are, acknowledge your problem. The next step is probably to have a conversation. Have a conversation with yourself or someone else, and then create a plan. I've worked with so many people, smart people, and they're stuck. Like, we're talking about people that are successfully fitness-wise, successfully business-wise too. They still get stuck. Sometimes the only thing that I had those kind of conversations where I'm sitting with someone, and then I just ask them a question, and it's like boom, and it's so obvious, but they have just been stuck like in the same loop. And that's why I encourage to have conversations. I heard this quote somewhere, like abbreviation ABC, always be communicating, which I definitely like and love. I think I heard that from Ben Bergeron. And yeah, always be communicating. Conversation will move you forward. Asking the right questions. Heard that quote from somewhere else too. Like you have to ask the right questions, just like when you work with AI. The best ones are when you ask the right questions, the right prompts, whatever. And we should do this with ourselves as well. All right, so I have one question for you to sit with for the rest of this week. You don't have to answer this perfectly. I just want you to maybe think about it honestly with yourself. Maybe you want to communicate that with someone. If you want to reach out to me, do it. Okay, are you ready? The question is, where in your life right now are you using comfort as a ceiling? I'm not talking about your rest. I'm talking about comfort, where you're feeling like comfortable. When is that your ceiling? How has that become your ceiling? The difference between rest and comfort is that rest recovers you, and comfort protects you from finding out what you're actually capable of. So I want you to pick one area, write it down, and ask yourself, what would it look like if you removed that ceiling? Just for a day, for a week, for a month. I'm curious to hear what you can come up with. And if you're kind of blank right now, that's fine. You know what that means? That probably means you want to have a conversation with someone. So go out and make something great this week. Whatever you're walking into right now, you have much more in the tank that you've been told, and probably more than you've told yourself. And I'm going to end off this episode with a great quote from Lord of the Rings, which is, you can guess who it is. Even the smallest person can change the course of the future. Yeah, that's from the Lord of the Rings, like I said. And you can figure out who said that.